Okay, I'm going to go on now with Suzuki's introduction to the Lankavatara Sutra and continue with the section which he calls Buddha, the Enlightened, and Sarvasattva, the Ignorant. To conclude this section, Buddhism is the story of relationship between two groups of beings. The one is called Buddha, who is the enlightened, the Tathagata, the Arhat, and the other is generally designated as Sarvasattva, literally all beings, who are ignorant, greedy for worldly things, and therefore in perpetual torment. In spite of their hankering for worldly enjoyments, they are conscious of their condition and not at all satisfied with it. When they reflect, they find themselves quite forlorn inwardly. They long for real happiness, for ultimate reality and blissful enlightenment. They look upwards, where the Buddha sits wrapped in his meditation, serenely regarding them with his transcendental wisdom. As he looks down at his fellow beings, inexplicably tormented with their greed and ignorance and egotism, he is disturbed, for he feels an inextinguishable feeling of love stirring within himself, the feeling now perfectly purified of all the defilements of selfishness, which embraces the whole world in pity, though not attached to it. The Buddha leaves his transcendental abode. He is seen among sentient beings, each one of whom recognizes him according to his own light. Transcendental wisdom, or prajna, and a heart of all-embracing love, or mahakaruna, constitute the very reason of Buddhahood, while the desire or thirst for life, or trishna, and ignorance as to the meaning of life, or avidya, and deeds, or karma, following from the blind assertion of life impulse, these are the factors that enter into the nature of sarvasattva, all ignorant and infatuated ones. The one who is above, looking downward, extends his arms to help. The other, unable to extricate himself from entanglements, looks up in despair, and finding the helping arms, stretches his own to take hold to them. And from this scene, the following narratives, psychological, logical, and ontological, unfold themselves to the Buddhist soul. Well, Suzuki here is inserting himself a good bit, I think, into the narrative, but it's beautiful prose, and gives a sense of how us suffering being can experience the Buddha as a saving kind of force in the context of our own despair and suffering, which even if at a given point in time our life is going great, at some point things break down. We have losses, whether it be relationships, whether it be people we love, whether it be objects that we become attached to, whether it be aspects of our own physical health. Things break down. Things change, and things evolve ultimately in a direction of old age, illness, and death. So again, the Buddha is seen as a refuge and someone that we can rely upon as a source of comfort for ourselves. And I might mention that even though D.T. Suzuki is well known for his Zen kind of orientation, and really for having been one of the key people to bring Buddhism, and in particular Zen Buddhism, to the West, he also very much had an appreciation for Pure Land Buddhism, the form of Buddhism which is an endorsement of the notion of looking to a cosmic Buddha as our source of reliance and as the basis for our assurance of our own rebirth in a pure land, our own ability to attain, so to speak, that sense of perfect enlightenment, which ultimately is Buddhahood. But anyway, Suzuki goes on, and he has his next section entitled Psychology. What may be termed Buddhist psychology in the Lanka consists of the analysis of mind, that is, in the classification of the Vijnanas. To understand, thus, the psychology of Buddhism properly, the knowledge of these terms is necessary: Sita, Manas, Vijnana, Manovijnana, and Alaya Vijnana. And these are key terms, and again, within the description of my various unabridged recitations of sections of the Lanka, I make reference to the video that I once made that focuses in specifically on these terms. But let's see what Suzuki here has to say about these terms, which by virtue of knowing a little bit about them, I think it makes some of the content of the Lankavatara a bit more understandable. To begin with, Vijnana. Vijnana is composed of the prefix vi, meaning to divide, and the root jna, which means to perceive or to know. Thus, Vijnana is the faculty of distinguishing or discerning or judging. When an object is presented before the eye, it is perceived and judged as a red apple or a piece of white linen. The faculty of doing this is called eye Vijnana. In the same way, there are ear Vijnana for sound, nose Vijnana for odor, tongue Vijnana for taste, body Vijnana for touch, and thought Vijnana or Mano Vijnana for ideas. Altogether 6 forms of Vijnana for distinguishing the various aspects of world, external or internal. Of the 6 Vijnanas, the Mano Vijnana is the most important, as it is directly related to an inner faculty known as Manas. Manas roughly corresponds to mind as an organ of thought. But in fact, it is more than that, for it is also a strong power of attaching itself to the result of thinking. The Manas first wills, then it discriminates to judge. To judge is to divide, and this dividing ends in viewing existence dualistically. Hence, the Manas's tenacious attachment to the dualistic interpretation of existence. Willing and thinking are inextricably woven into the texture of Manas. So this points to, what we see over and over and over within various mystical religious traditions, as well as certainly within the Mahayana tradition of Buddhism, where we have this emphasis on non-duality. Really the key focus, for example, of the Prajnaparamita Sutras, such as the Diamond Sutra. So he goes on to say, Sita, that's probably actually pronounced Chitta, but I'm pronouncing it Sita, which is C-I-T-T-A, comes from the root sit, to think, but in the Lanka, the derivation is made from the root C-I instead of C-I-T, to pile up or to arrange in order. The Sita is thus a storehouse where the seeds of all thoughts and deeds are accumulated and stored up. The Sita, however, has a double sense, general and specific. When it is used in the general sense, it means mind or mentation or ideas, including the activities of Manas and Manovijnana, and also of the Vijnanas. While specifically it is a synonym of Alaya Vijnana in its relative aspects, and distinguishable from all the rest of the mental faculties, when, however, it is used in the form of a Sita Matra, or mind only, it acquires still another connotation. Boy, this gets pretty confusing because, again, some of these terms have overlap in their meaning, but this notion of Sita Matra, or mind only, you'll see, is a very, very fundamental concept within the Lanka. We can say that Sita appears here in its highest, in the case of Sita Matra, or mind only, we can say that Sita appears here in its highest possible sense, for it is then neither simply mentation, nor intellection, nor perception as a function of consciousness. It is identifiable with the alaya in its absolute aspect. This will become clearer later on. Alaya Vijnana is alaya plus Vijnana, and alaya is a store where things are hoarded for future use. The Sita, as a cumulative faculty, is thus identified with the alaya Vijnana. Strictly speaking, the alaya is not a Vijnana, has no discerning power in it. It indiscriminately harbors all that is poured into it through the channel of the Vijnanas. The alaya is perfectly neutral, indifferent, and does not offer to give judgments. Well, that's a lot of terminology, and I guess the hope we have for trying to fathom it in a more comprehensible way is simply that you'll hear these terms over and over, and just like maybe with another language through immersion, we'll get a better feel for it and understanding of it. I actually just recently picked up a small book on Yogacara philosophy, which is the label, so to speak, of the kind of perspective within Buddhism that Lanka portrays, keeping in mind again that it's not a philosophy. But if you want to, research that in terms of either Wikipedia or online sources, or again books that may cover this topic, they may be helpful if you really want to get a handle on these terms. But you can also listen to the Lankavatara without getting too hung up on the terms, because really, what is it saying over and over and over and over again is that absolute reality can't be characterized by any words or concepts, and that truth and reality with a capital R are beyond words.